Hey guys, my name is Christian. Hopefully you are all doing well. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, this is the place where we try out microphones, gear, but really anything that is audio related. If you want to check out my Instagram, that is usually the place where I post sneak peeks on what is coming up here on the channel. And if you like what you hear here, you can hire me for mixing and mastering. I'll leave a link down in the description. Shoot me an email and hopefully we can work something out. Alright, so that is enough self-promotion. Today we are going to talk about hybrid mixing. I think that is a subject that is still relevant in this day and age. I think anyone that is mixing, mastering or tracking is thinking about integrating hardware into their chain. So I kind of made the whole journey myself, coming from nothing, then owning a very nice hybrid setup consisting of like 8 channels of compression, a couple of channels of EQ, analog summing, and then when I closed down my commercial studio, I decided to downsize the setup. That was one of the reasons. The other reason is that, clients asking for revisions, stems, and bouncing things in real time is really time consuming. So now I'm mainly in the box. I have an 1176 and a CL1B hardware. Other than that, I'm completely in the box. But when I got the opportunity here to try out the Wes Audio stuff, the Titan rack and their 500 series modules, I kind of jumped on it. I thought that it would be nice to do a checkup to see how I feel about hybrid mixing and hardware in general. And if you're not familiar with Wes Audio, they make digitally controlled analog hardware, which means that you can control the hardware through plugins in your own DAW, which means total recall. You can jump between projects. When you load up the project, the settings load up instantly. So very nice, very convenient, and it sounds extremely good. So I'm using the Wes Audio stuff on a mix that I'm currently working on, and I have to honestly say that I am a bit disheartened. It's just something about how hardware treats transients, and the stereo modules from Wes Audio have THD, which you can engage, which gives the source more harmonic excitement and saturation, and that just makes things pop and come together in a very musical way. So yeah, it just sounds extremely good. And I'm going to show you a few examples here, but keep in mind, that these are just tools. You should really experience this yourself, but hopefully this will just make you excited and perhaps make you want to invest in hardware. So let's jump into Pro Tools and we'll listen to my examples and hopefully you guys will enjoy. Alright, so I'm going to give you a few examples here. But like I said, I think it's really best to experience this yourself to see how you can incorporate this into your own workflow. These are just tools, but I'm going to show you a few examples here that I think really improves the mix. It might be tiny improvements, but I do think it matters. So let's start off with the vocals here. And I was playing around with the vocals in this mix that I'm working on, and I felt that they were nearly there, but not completely. And I tried a few things, and I decided to compare the 1176 plugin that I used, compare that to the MIMAS compressor from Wes Audio. So here we have the plugins, and we'll start off with the plugin here.
Lost you 'cause you feel the pride and the ichor in your mouth tastes like lies. Heaven is not underground grave 'cause the rush.
So not bad, but I think it lacks a tiny bit of punch and it feels a bit lifeless, a bit flat. So let's switch it out to the MIMAS hardware compressor.
Lost you 'cause you feel the pride and the ichor in your mouth tastes like lies. Heaven is not underground grave 'cause the rush you feel inside will survive the day. Lost you 'cause you feel the pride and the ichor in your mouth tastes like lies. Heaven is not
So in my opinion, I don't think it's just only about volume. I think the hardware adds some weight and punch, and it somehow you know, take control over its own space. So I'm sure that I would be able to get a good vocal sound with the plugins, but that's just how easy it is with hardware. Just switch it out and ta-da, you got the vocal sound that you were after. So that's just a small example. I'm going to show you a Mixbuss example here. And we'll start off with the Prometheus here. And this is a Pultec style EQ. And like I said, I really enjoyed the THD on all of the plugins. I really think that that helped adding harmonic excitement and glue to the mix. I'm going to show you guys here. And of course, this is adding top end to the mix, as you can see on the curves here. So it's just not a fair comparison to do an AB on off, but you'll see here. So I think you could hear that with the THD engaged, you know, you could hear the guitars pop a bit more, the whole mix coming together, and that is what THD is doing. So just a small example. I'm gonna loop it once again and keep attention to the THD on and off. So we start off with the THD on. Yeah, so hopefully you could hear that. And let's move on to the Dione compressor, which is an SSL style VCA compressor. And I'm going to show you guys here what it does. It kind of adds a nice snap to the mix. So just a subtle difference, but it definitely adds some punch and glue to the mix. And one last example here on the drums, which we have over here. I used the Rhea compressor, which is their new Varimu compressor, and I think I might back off with the THD if I were to own these modules. But you know, when something's fresh, something's new, you kind of use it all the time. But I used high on the drums here, but I pulled down the mix knob to around 50%. So just a nice way to blend in the THD and compression. So let's listen to the drums here. So as you guys can hear, it is subtle, but all these things add up. I'm going to show you guys if I bypass these the hardware here. So it's without the Rhea, without the Prometheus and the Dione on the master. Alright, so that was just a few examples. Like I said, you really should experience this yourself, and I really think that the hardware coloration adds up once you start to put on a few modules, but of course you need to start somewhere, and I think that you should definitely go with an 1176, then to an SSL bus compressor, perhaps the Rhea. Varimu is very nice to use. You can use it both in tracking and in mixing, but really play around, see if you feel that it's worth it. Of course, you have to be quite experienced to be able to utilize the small difference that hardware makes, but I think it's really nice, and I really enjoy the workflow that you get from the Wes Audio modules. You know, instant recall, you can make presets. It's just a very nice modern way to use hardware. Alright, so that is really it for today's episode. If you like this kind of content, hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you guys around.